Hello, 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 and welcome back. Today I'm not going to be talking very long. I'm just going to do another chapter reading. Well, not a full chapter. We'd be here for like 45 minutes, just a section. So this excerpt comes from chapter 2, and it's one of the scenes from the past well, I'll just leave it at that. So without further ado, here we go. Temporarily torn away from her successor's present, Tyrell watched as a distant past shifted across the fabric of the loom, a past as ancient as the loom itself. Thousands of years had turned since the events replaying before her had originally transpired, and although she knew this particular history well, she was powerless to control the repeated images. Instead, she watched, helpless, as a trio of siblings cut a shadowed path through a forest near the Baltic Sea, back when humanity was relatively young. Green sunlight filtered through the dark forest canopy. The three travelers knew they neared a shore, for they could smell the brine and the wind, but the forest had them turned about and walking in circles. They wore thick brown robes of a coarsely woven fabric, with hoods draped over their heads. Two of them wore curved knives at their hips, and the third clutched a gnarled staff in her bony, pale hand. By the time they eventually reached what they hoped would be a town, they were disappointed to discover merely another uncivilized gathering of pathetic huts, no more advanced than the last group they had stumbled across in the dark wood. When they left, it was another smoking ruin. "These simple creatures begin to bore me," one of the travelers said. He was tall and muscular, but his sickly pale skin and flat, black eyes hinted at the rot within. "We should return to our own realm. At least there we speak the language." The second traveler sniffed derisively. "There is nothing in this dull place for us to learn," he agreed. He was slightly shorter than the first, but of equal build and with the same sickly pallor. "Brothers," whispered the third traveler, "the light here, this air, is so much purer." She threw wide her pallid arms and twirled round in a circle, laughing coldly in the dim, green light. Stopping her dance as suddenly as she started, she announced, "I would rather stay." "The light you adore hurts my eyes," the second traveler remarked. The sorceress laughed again, then brought a finger to her lips in a gesture of silence. Dropping her gnarled staff, she hunched to the ground, motioning her brothers to join her. They hastily obeyed. "I feel something different," she whispered, her black eyes narrowing. "Something out of place. There is one here who is an outsider, one from another plane." "Did one of our own follow us?" the first traveler asked. "No, it's not like us," the sorceress hissed. "Something older." She sniffed the air, clutching her staff again to her heart. She stood, one languid, furtive movement. "The outsider is not far. Let us find it. Perhaps there will be the answers we seek." "Yes, let's," agreed her brothers. The sorceress bolted through the forest, following the otherworldly trail of power as a wolf follows blood. Her brothers raced after her, their curved blades hacking at the low-lying branches that tangled their path. The scent of salt and brine grew stronger as they pursued the outsider, and when suddenly they reached the edge of the forest, they skidded to a stop. A stony cliff stood before them, the raging sea stretching beyond to the horizon. On the edge of the precipice lingered a woman unlike any they had yet seen, neither among the peoples of their home world, nor among the primitive forest tribes in the land they presently wandered. The woman was tall and robust, a quiet strength emanating from the core of her being. She was neither particularly dark nor particularly pale, but somewhere in the shades of brown between. Her thick black hair was braided into a single plait down her back, and she wore a simple yet elegant dress in a shade that blended with the sapphire sky against which she stood. The sorceress in the shadows whispered excitedly, "Brothers, can you feel her power? She is filled with magic, overflowing with it. I have never felt power such as this before." "Then we should take her power for our own to rule all of Dame," the first traveler said. His sister grinned, replying, "Yes, but not yet. If we follow her further, perhaps she will lead us to others of her kind, and then we can have all of their magic as well. Enough magic to change our hideous world into something grander, something of our choosing." The powerful woman turned, emerald eyes piercing the shadows of the forest where the travelers hid and watched. "You do not belong here," she called. "You should go back whence you came." "You do not belong here either," the sorceress whispered into the twilight. The woman turned back to face the waves, outstretched her hand, and drew a circle in the sky. Abruptly there was a shimmer of purple light where she had traced the air, and she threw herself from the precipice and into the portal. The purple flashed once more and was gone. "After you, sweet sister," the second traveler said. The sorceress stretched out from the forest. The sorceress stepped out from the forest. She approached the edge cautiously, peering over the precipice by the crashing waves below. The sea swallowed the dim starlight from the moonless sky, black as the cold eyes of the three travelers. The sorceress stretched her staff over the water, drawing her own circle in the air. The portal that opened shimmered a darker purple than the original, but it opened all the same. "Demelder, Darien, you enter first. I will hold it open and then follow." "Are you sure your portal will follow hers?" "Go," she hissed. They did. When both of her brothers had disappeared through the shimmering indigo, the sorceress spared one last glance behind her to the twilit forest, the moonless sky, then threw herself into the portal. She could not quite fathom the origin of the feeling, but still she knew in her bones and her gut that the next world would be even better. She felt the magic prickle across her skin as a slight wave of nausea gripped her belly, and then in a flash all sensation was gone. She drifted in oblivion for a time, until slowly sensation returned to her, oozing down her limbs as she opened her eyes. The light was harsh and had a silvery glow to it, but her eyes adjusted quickly. Her brothers crouched nearby, rubbing their foreheads. The force of their travels had pushed their hoods back, revealing the straw-yellow tangles of their hair and the sharp, angular bones of their sallow faces. "Why is she not here?" the sorceress murmured. She scanned her surroundings carefully. They were in another forest, but the smaller trees of this one were twice as round as the largest in the last, and the lowest-lying branches towered far over their heads. She could place no name to any of the foliage she looked upon, but she could sense the potential for power all the same. "I did exactly as she did," she continued. "We should have ended up in the same place, only moments behind her." "Perhaps you have made an error," Demelder supposed, standing slowly and fingering the hilt of his curved knife. The sorceress turned a scathing glance his way. "I did not err," she hissed. "Then perhaps this place is more unpredictable than we thought," Darien offered. "No matter," the sorceress dismissed. "I sense a gathering nearby. A large group of sentient creatures, some of whom have magic, although most are simple. Those few, though, they are strong, but none quite as strong as the one we followed from the land we left." Demelder bent to extend a hand to his sister. "Then let us seek these ones out. Perhaps our journey will not have been in vain, after all." So there we go. Hope you enjoyed that little segment, and you can find Destined. Let me put it where it's not in the harsh sunlight. There we go. Destined on Amazon, or you can just check out my website at M.A.I.Murray.com, and you can read the whole thing if you so desire. So that's all for today. Thanks for stopping by. Don't forget to subscribe so you don't miss anything, and I'll see you next time.